Did you know that getting less votes than someone else is now intimidation? No? Well, it is, according to some Labour MPs. After Starmer's huge landslide win, you think that everyone in the party would be celebrating, not giving a toss about anyone else, but that doesn't seem to be the case. In fact, we've had John Ashworth, who lost a seat to independent Shokat Adam, Thagan Debonair losing to the Greens co-leader Carla Denyer, Wes Streeting almost losing to Liane Mohammed. Yet we've had Debonair saying the Greens ran a similar campaign to reform, John Ashworth saying he was bullied, and Angela Rayner talking about intimidation of MPs. Let's go to John Ashworth.
A campaign was organised nationally by a national organisation called The Muslim Vote, whose campaign was clear on their website. Punish MPs. That's the words they used.
The word was punish, was it?
Punish MPs. It wasn't, we want to effect change on a set of policy issues. Like many of the policy issues I fought on, whether that's calling for a ceasefire, calling for Palestinian statehood, calling for student finance arrangements for Muslim young people in my constituency. Punish MPs is what the Muslim Vote organisation talked about.
What kind of things happened to you? You sound pretty angry about this.
I was chased down the street, shouted at and screamed at for 45 minutes until I had to seek refuge literally in a vicarage, and they waited for me outside the vicarage, and even when I came out of the vicarage they were shouting at me with megaphones, leaflets going around accusing me of being Genocide John, anonymous leaflets, all in the name of the successful candidate who won't be able to do anything, who will stand exposed and impotent, not able to effect change, accusing me of genocide, of having blood on my hands.
It's difficult trying to watch the entire clip because he's such a smarmy prick trying to claim victimhood. Now you can hear the world's smallest violin playing right now. Meanwhile, nearly 200,000 Palestinians have been murdered. You have babies being blown up, yet he's crying that people are angry. Then he said he was chased down the street. Now, I don't know what incident he was referring to, but we do have a clip where he claims he was being bullied, despite the fact that he whipped out his phone as soon as he saw people approaching him.
Do you condemn Netanyahu? Yes or no?
You see, I am not going to have these guys...
I'm just a simple question. Do you condemn Netanyahu?
I'm not going to have these guys bullying me off the street.
No one's bullying you. It's a simple question. We're asking you why you abstained for the vote. Yeah, to vote for a ceasefire. It's a simple question. No one's bullying you. If you can't answer the question, say it.
We're not going to have the people intimidate us.
No one's intimidating you. It's a simple question. Why did you abstain? Why did you abstain for the vote for Gaza? It's not a vote. So me asking you why you abstained for the Gaza vote is bullying you. How is that bullying you?
And people have Leicester South.
We have every right to question why you didn't represent us in Parliament.
And if you want these people to win this election, if you want the bullies...
He doesn't want us to ask him why he abstained from the Gaza vote. If you call us asking you why you abstained...
You've got to vote against this.
Why did you abstain from the Gaza vote?
These people don't decide.
Why did you abstain from the Gaza vote?
People bullying,
It's not bullying, it's not intimidating. It's a simple question. It's a simple question. You got the blood of Palestinian men, women and children on your hands.
So if you want to make sure
he's a disgrace.
Is
Netanyahu a war criminal? Why couldn't you condemn him?
You've got to get out.
Why couldn't you condemn Netanyahu?
On July the 4th.
Why couldn't you condemn Netanyahu? Why couldn't you condemn him?
Now, I'm sorry, but that doesn't seem like he was intimidated. The first thing you would do is probably, like, run away, not whip out your phone and be like, oh, look at this, I'm being bullied. The fact of the matter is, a now former Labour MP, who everyone thought was going to be in government, abstained on the ceasefire vote. Yes, he has blood on his hands. Now, look, I get it. It's a strong sentence saying that people have blood on their hands. But if you're not calling out a genocide, if you're an elected official, then I'm sorry that those words offend you. But in the real world, children are being slaughtered. Now let's hear what Angela Rayner has to say.
You can't intimidate people who are elected or who want to stand for office, because one of the things I'm concerned about is many times when I go into colleges and to schools and do talks, the one thing that the students always ask me about is how do I cope with the level of abuse that I receive? I find that sad that that is their question, because it worries me that people won't want to stand for office. And for a thriving democracy, We need people to stand for office, and we need people to uphold our democracy by making sure that people aren't intimidated, we don't see that violence, and that people can exercise their right to vote.
But there might be young people who heard you using the word scum about Tory politicians yourself and having to apologise for that only a couple of years ago, who were also put off going into politics. I mean, how do you now, as Deputy Prime Minister, reflect on your own use of language and your own responsibility in this?
Well, you'll have seen at the time about how I dealt with that, and I apologise, but there was also inflammatory language across the board, including racist, homophobic and misogynistic comments made by the then Prime Minister, and I think it was wrong. I've said I was wrong, and I've said that the Prime Minister was wrong, and I think we all have to reflect on that.
Now, I think it's very funny that her calling the Tories scum has bitten her on the ass. I mean, look, I've defended her saying that. I still do to this day. The Tories have been responsible for killing 330,000 people with austerity. The way they treated disabled people, chronically ill and mentally unwell people who use our welfare state is sickening. Calling politicians scum for enacting these policies, I think, is a human response, and she was well within her rights. But it's funny because now there are people calling Labour scum or genocide enablers or blood on their hands, and she doesn't like it. But the media, they also have a role to play in this. Instead of platforming Carla Denyer with her historic win in Bristol, multiple media outlets are boosting Thangam Debbonaire. Why? She lost. The same with Ashworth, whilst Shocker Adam, who is now an elected representative, is being ignored. He's not given the right of reply. Now, to me, I think it's clear dog whistling from Labour. They are playing into the Islamophobia narrative. It's the Muslims who are intimidating people. They are the bullies. And the media pushes this narrative too. I mean, did you notice that if there was a constituency that has a high Muslim population, how the media speculated on it was like, oh, this won't be good for Labour with their stance on Gaza, as if it's only Muslims who care about genocide or that Muslims don't care about their material interests. There's a reason why Starmer got less votes than Jeremy Corbyn in both 2017 and 2019. People were disillusioned with the party on a whole host of things, not just Gaza. They won't scrap the two-child benefit cap. They won't invest and will continue the same Tory economic policies. Their social conservatism, the watering down on the Green Prosperity Plan. But Labour desperately wants to push the narrative that is mainly Gaza, and through that, the issue is those damn pesky Muslims. And it's a very clever narrative to spin. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is Thangam Debbonaire comparing the Greens to Reform UK. Debbonaire told Cathy Newman that the Greens used the same playbook as Reform and some winning independent candidates. It's a clear danger if you get in the habit as a campaigning political party of saying things that are actually not true but sounds good. She added, I actually did vote for a ceasefire, not once, but twice. And our motion, our amendment to the motion in February, that got through unanimously for all sorts of reasons. But it did. One of them being we knew how to handle Parliament. Now, that wasn't what the Green Party sent out, and it was difficult. On the leaflets that they put out, they didn't say that I had voted against a ceasefire, but people interpreted that from them saying she failed to vote for a ceasefire. True, I failed to vote for one because it didn't mention the hostages. So Debbonaire says the Greens basically lied and said, well, I didn't vote for a ceasefire, even though there was one time where she didn't vote for a ceasefire. Now, when the first ceasefire vote came to Parliament in November, Thangam Debbonaire voted against it. She only subsequently voted in favour when it was a watered-down Labour amendment. So it's not a playbook from Reform by pointing out that the November ceasefire motion, which to me was the most important one, that was the one where MPs had a chance to stand up against the political tide, and she failed to do so. Now, it's becoming harder and harder to publicly stand on the side of Israel. Of course, parties are saying the right things, but how stupid do they think we are? Now, since then, Labour has said they back a ceasefire, but no one believes them. As I said, we're not stupid. They have been pretty much supporting Israel throughout. It didn't matter what the Greens put on their leaflets. She was going to lose anyway. And once again, she didn't just lose because of Gaza. She lost because people wanted the Greens in. Polling showed Carla ahead of Thangam consistently. People are angry at the domestic policies that Labour were offering, or lack thereof, shall I say. The truth is, No one really wanted Labour. They wanted to see the end of the Tories, and tactical voting was a factor. But 52% of people voted in the election, which is the lowest turnout since universal suffrage. But Labour doesn't want to admit that they are another party of capital, that they care more about their billionaire donors than the working class. So it's easy to pin it on one thing, and by extension, one group of people. So expect this to be the narrative for a very, very long time, but don't let them get away with it. Don't allow them to try and avoid accountability. I'm excited to say that Turn Left has significantly grown this year, and with that, we've managed to produce far more ambitious content, interviewing high-profile people. We did a 12-hour live election show. There are multiple people behind Turn Left, but we are still working around our full-time work. But we would love it if this was our full-time. It means we could dedicate so much more and to bring even more ambitious content. So if you've been here from the beginning, or you've only recently become a viewer, if you like what we do, then you can help us out. Please like and share this video. Make sure you drop a comment. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your feedback. And we desperately need more independent media. If you want to see a socialist media alternative thrive, then you could be part of that. So if you can support us on Patreon for £3 or £5 per month, or any one-off donation. We can use that money to upgrade our equipment, to rent out a proper studio, and to start paying ourselves. This is only the beginning. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Patreon.com, Turn Left Media. Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you, Turn Left.